here we go for the final time. We are green! Oh, they make contact! A terrible crash! The chase for the chase continues here in the final season 10 of the NNSCRA Snickers Cup Series as we get ready to go racing in race number 15 here live from Rockingham, North Carolina Speedway, also known as The Rock. And these drivers today are going to try and utilize this very difficult track. This track actually very easy in 1 and 2, but 3 and 4 really are a big problem for a lot of people. And we're going to see if that's going to play into today's race as drivers are trying to vie for a potential spot in the final chase of the Snickers Cup Series. A couple of drivers have all but locked themselves up spots in this season's chase already, depending on whether they finish in the top 30 in points at the end of the regular season. But there are a number of drivers that still have yet to even put their name into the ring to have a eligible chance of making the chase for the championship. Two of those drivers start on the front row for today's race. They are Chris Dollerton, former Truck Series champion, and Sean Galligan, former Mobile One Cup Series champion, as they will line up on the front row. Both have yet to go to victory lane this season, and both are having rather struggling seasons as well. Chris Dollerton finds himself 35th in points. Sean Galligan is outside the top 35 in points. So starting on the front row, track position could play key in today's race, and so great qualifying efforts for both of them as they both try and work their way up into the top 30 in points before they can even really focus on trying to get to victory lane in order to get a spot in this season's chase. Row 2 is going to be comprised of Chris Washer and Danny Wells. Washer, another driver who's yet to go to victory lane this season. However, he is running really well in the point standings. Moved his way up to 15th in points after last week's race at Thornton. And alongside of him, Danny Wells, who's already been to victory lane this season, ended up winning a couple of weeks ago back at Darlington. Danny's now trying to focus on keeping himself in the top 30 in points. He actually moved up to 19th in standings after last week's race at Thornton, so he's in pretty good situation at the current moment. And rounding out the top 5, the only Dodge in the field, William Duncan, who was a 2-time winner last season, has yet to go to victory lane this season. He's 23rd in points, but he does need a trip to victory lane to be eligible for a slot in this season's chase for the championship. Without further ado, though, we're going to go down trackside and get those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engine!
Man given, we're ready to go as the field will roll off here. I actually made a little bit of a mistake. I said that the tough turns are 3 and 4. Actually, it's 1 and 2 are the difficult portion of this track. 1 and 2 is more of a diamond kind of shape. 3 and 4 are like your normal turns. But these drivers, they're going to have to fight all the elements here today. That's going to give these drivers a little bit of a, I guess you could say, an insight into later on this season, because they are planning on repaving Rockingham, and we're coming back here for our regular season finale. So the chase spots will be all determined here the next time we arrive. So whoever wins here today might be the one to watch. As here we go, green flag ready to come out. Chris Dollars and Sean Galligan get us underway. We're green flag racing at The Rock. 40 laps on tap here today. Chris Dollerton going to get the early advantage on the inside line, taking the lead. Splitting 3 wide back there. Pichu London caught in the middle, and Dollerton will clear for the top position. Chris Washer now moves into second. And Dollerton will lead the first lap of the race. That'll be a very valuable bonus point for him. Washer to second. Duncan now moves to third. Jessica Shelton now challenging for that position as well. They're really racing hard back there from Austin Mongold on back. That's about somewhere from, I think, like the 25th position on back At the front, though, they've really spread out. Dollarton with an advantage, and now the caution must be out. It is. There was a spin, apparently, just past the start-finish line and down the front straightaway into turn 1. Only saw one set of skid marks, which leads me to assume it was more than likely a single car incident. Whoa, trouble back there! So someone get the wall. Did they hang on to it, though, is the question. Oh, there's a couple cars on the inside. Oh, James McLeod's spun out, and Austin Mongold spun out. They all kept it together, though. Dougie Shears has got some damage. Trent Dunham, Johnny Gardner, and Sean Henley back here, too, so they might have been part of whatever happened there on the front straightaway. But Chris Dollarton will lead us under our first yellow of the day. That didn't take long at all, but quite honestly, it's typical Rockingham. When they have double file starts, they'll get 3 wide really early, and this track can hold them, but there's a real looseness off of 2, and cars on the outside line will go up, get the wall, and then bounce back down to traffic. That happens off of 4 as well. And so maybe with single file restarts, we'll get into a bit of a long green flag run. But the caution flag out for the first time today. Top 5 as we go and look at replay. It's Chris Dollarton, Chris Washer, William Duncan, Jessica Shelton, and Joshua Michaels. So it's right at the rear of the field. Sean Henley going to get into the wall off of 4. Comes down into Johnny Gardner. And then Henley turns down and clips the right rear of last week's winner, Trent Dunham, and the current points leader as well. And then Dougie Shears trying to find a way by, and he's going to get Trent in the driver's side door. So we had basically 4 cars involved. Johnny Gardner was able to pretty much get away from that, though. Buckle on the hood of the U.S. Marines Chevrolet of Dougie Shears. Sean Henley back there was able to get his car refired, and same for Trent Dunham. But then we had something else happen, which I believe involved, they're telling me it involved the 9 of Joshua Collard, who's right here in the middle of this pack. And from what they're telling me, it happened up here in 3. Let's see if we can pinpoint what goes down here. He's 3 wide with James McLeod to his inside, Seth Cole to his outside. Looks like they're okay through this corner. So where was... He said it was in 3. Okay, there's a smoke. Oh, okay, I think it was the next lap around. Right here. Oh, yeah, this is where we saw the incident in the rear. They were 4 wide under pacing. Mongold gets into the wall, then comes down, gets James McLeod, and then there you see Joshua Collard ran into the back of the 51. And right down in front of Pichu London, who I think was able to get on the brakes. Collard, though, has got a real big buckle on the hood there, 5th in points. Pichu London, I think, made a little contact. Charles Sanford might have made a little bit of contact, too. And then Michael Norman's going to make a little contact with the left front into Austin Mongold's left rear. And there you see the buckle on the hood of the 03 of Charles Sanford. So he got some fairly significant damage on his machine. So they ended up wrecking under pacing when they were 4 wide. And like I said, 3 wide's hard enough to have room there, but then 4 wide, that's almost absolute nada. Not going to happen. So that's what put us under the caution. The spin involving Johnny Gardner, Sean Henley, Trent Dunham, and Dougie Shears. And then we had an incident under the pacing lap. But we're getting ready to go back to green with Chris Dollarton out in front. Flagman has given the indication of 1 lap to go. We'll go back green on lap 7 of 40. After that incident, everybody is still running. Trent Dunham, Johnny Gardner, Dougie Shears, and Sean Henley never even came to pit road. The only driver that hit pit road was Joshua Collard, and he has left pit road hoodless. But all 42 cars are still on track. It'll be Dollarton, Washer, Duncan, Shelton, and Michaels. That's the top 5. Michaels right now in a good chance to be able to take the points lead back from Trent Dunham, who was involved in that first caution. Then it's Sean Galligan 6th, Stephen Potter III 7th, McCurry 8th, Nathan Hudson 9th, and completing the top 10 will be Dylan Young. I forgot to mention the points coming into this race. It's actually really close between Trent Dunham and Joshua Michaels. They're separated by 3 points. Then it's 33 points back to Dylan Poteet in 3rd, Dougie Shears 4th, Joshua Collard 5th, and the rest of the top 10 in the standings are Lawler, Citadino, Miles, Austin LaPlante, and Tim Walsh. As we get ready to go back to green, Chris Dollerton looking for his first win in forever. I can't even remember how far back it was since he picked up a win at Snickers Cup. A good portion of that is in part to the fact that for a number of seasons, that 33 was driven by Madison Seaver and Megan Atkins. Dollerton for the final season decided to come back and run here in Snickers as he ran most of his career in the Truck Series. Trying to pick up what would be the third win of the season for Michael Norman Motorsports, as his teammate Dougie Shears has already been to victory lane twice this season at Bristol and Charlotte. Chris Washer, we saw a lot of gusto out of the BMWs last week at Thornton. Chris Washer was the more consistent of the two between himself and Joshua Michaels, even though Joshua Michaels did finish rather decently. Neither one of them have found victory lane yet this season. As Dollerton continues to lead, got a battle for second going on here. Jessica Shelton has just taken that spot away. Now here comes Sean Galligan into third, bypassing Chris Washer. Now the BMWs in fourth and fifth, as now Michaels going to go underneath his teammate Chris Washer. Like I said, it's looking like Joshua Michaels, barring any problems here, more than likely take over the points lead again. He lost it last week to Trent Dunham due to Trent going to victory lane for the second time this season. It looks like Joshua Michaels will take it back due to the hardship that we just saw Trent Dunham take, getting involved in the first caution of the day. And like I said, since it was a single file restart, we are now looking like we're going to be settling into a long green flag run, which is what I expected. When you're in a single file restart, then you're more than likely to go double wide, which this track can hold. But if you're in a double file restart, you're going to try going 3 wide and 4 wide to get as much track position as you can and pick up as many spots as you can. And like I said, this track can hold them 3 wide, but especially off of 2, the track is built in such a way with the banking that your car gets really loose off of turn 2 and goes up and slides and hits the outside retaining wall. And many drivers will tell you, as soon as you hit that wall, you're almost a passenger. You're hoping the car is going to remain straight, but when you let out of the throttle there, you don't know if that car is going to dart to the left and back down into traffic. And so many times, more likely than not, that's what happens. As it is really spread out at the front, Chris Dollerton enjoying the view, Jessica Shelton, Sean Galligan there in second and third. Then you got Anthony McCrory trailing Joshua Michaels. They're fourth and fifth right now. And then it's a long gap back to sixth place Dylan Young, who's got a big cluster of drivers behind him. Actually, Ryan Acosta just passed him for that sixth position. The 33 car has gone to victory lane a number of times with a number of drivers in the past few seasons. Megan Atkins putting that car in victory lane twice in 2 seasons, back-to-back seasons at the very same track, Talladega Superspeedway. As a matter of fact, a little bit of irony, the driver that's trying to run him down, Jessica Shelton, a former teammate of his. She used to drive for Michael Norman Motorsports back in the day, and Dollerton and she were teammates at the time. Now both on different teams. Dollerton still with M&M, but Jessica Shelton now with Retro Racing Enterprises. Shelton also, remember, is trying to go for a second victory here. A couple of drivers have already picked up 2 wins this season. Dougie Shears, Dylan Poteet, and now Trent Dunham after last week at Thornton. So that all but confirms them a spot in this season's chase for the championship, provided they finish in the top 30 in points by the end of the regular season. Jessica Shelton would like to add her name into the list as a driver with a confirmed spot in the chase. And when you think about it, too, she's also racing to stay ahead of that 30th position in points, because she comes into this race 26th in the standings. And if I were to do some quick calculation in my head, she comes into today's race 22 points, make that 21 points ahead of that 30th spot in the standings. And Sean Galligan, though, goes by her for the second position. Phoenix Racing's had a lot of success this season, but basically in only one half of their camp. Trent Dunham, Dylan Poteet, Danny Wells, Seth Cole, they've had pretty stellar seasons. 3 of those drivers going to victory lane for 5 times this season. But Sean Galligan and James McLeod have both been having really struggling seasons. Galligan outside the top 35 in points. James McLeod dead last in points, and he's been dead last in points for a good portion of this season. Galligan going to try and maybe change that here today. McCurry going underneath Joshua Michaels. That would be for the 4th position. McCurry's been steadily chipping his way up through the standings. He's now up to 17th in points. Last time he went to victory lane was last season at Darlington. Trying to get Audi into victory lane this season. Now, I was thinking, too, that at this very track, Dougie Shears, I think that the one track he hates to come to more than any would be here at Rockingham, North Carolina, because the last time we were here, Dougie Shears was pretty much all but en route to going to victory lane. That was back in Season 8. He was dominating the race, and he ended up getting wrecked by a lap machine. And if memory serves me correctly, that lap machine was actually Charles Samper back when he drove the Mitsubishi Lancer for Gonzalez S3 Motorsports. So Dougie Shears obviously does not really like this track, does not hold fond memories, as he was involved in the first caution as well. As a matter of fact, that's an interesting scenario here because we're on lap 23 already. The lap's ticking away. We've got 18 to go. About 17 and a half now as Dollerton's on the back straightaway, but those cars that were involved in that first caution and in that stack up under the yellow, will we be encountering them at any point during this race, and could that play a factor? Chris Dollerton certainly hopes not. He has been dominating this race. Right now, a full 1.5 seconds over the second place driver, Sean Galligan. Top 5 very spread out. Now cracking the top 6. How about Zach Buchanan? Zach Buchanan in the 09 right now trying to run down Joshua Michaels. That would be for the 5th position. Zach Buchanan is actually in danger of falling outside the top 35 in points, and the caution flag is out. Smoke in turn 1 again. So the yellow flag comes out after a long green flag run here. And this could very well be helping these leaders because they may have had to have thought about doing some green flag pit stops. And it looks like they are all going to come down pit road under this, our second yellow flag. Dylan Poteet is on pit road already. He might have been thinking about starting a cycle of pit stops. His teammate Sean Henley there as well. They may end up going a lap down. Joshua Collard's on pit road too. They may cycle around in the tail of the lead lap. James McLeod there. So it looks like a lot of the Tweenix drivers were all pitting together. Cole Daly on pit road as well. And it looks like those were the only 5 that were on pit road a lap before the caution flag came out. So Dollerton in, Galligan in, both hitting their pit signs at just about the exact same moment. James McLeod, Joshua Collard, Dylan Poteet leaving pit road along with Cole Daly. This should keep them on the tail end of the lead lap. I don't know if they're going to have to restart behind the pace car or not. And Dollerton's first off pit road. Whoa, close there between Shelton and Galligan. I think Shelton might have just barely gotten Galligan off pit road. And then it was McCurry out 4th and Michaels out 5th. So really the only change off of pit road was Shelton getting 2nd place from Sean Galligan. So Chris Dollerton leads us under our second caution. We will be restarting somewhere around 10 to go, I should think. But for now, let's take a look at a replay of what put us under the caution for the second time here today at Rockingham. And here's what brought the caution flag out. Battle for the 27th position. James Qualls and Cole Daly running the retro Camaro, a throwback Camaro, to the days when Hendrick Daly Motorsports drove the Chevy Camaros. This will be the final race that he'll be driving that commemorative ride. But there you see it. Qualls got the wall. Comes off the wall into Cole Daly. Daly down and into the inside retaining wall. There's no grip in that grass, so the car is slideways, and there's no way he can right it. The fortunate thing was, though, that this took place back just around the top 30 and not up at the front. Otherwise, that car, with very little momentum killed in the grass, could have come right back up into traffic. And he does come back up onto the racing surface, but fortunately most of everybody had already gotten by. Most of the other ones were just stragglers. They did a good job of getting through. There you see Michael Norman. Daly also didn't really come up very high in the racing groove. DJ Curtis able to get around the high side along with Charles Samper. And then Daly very smartly puts the car in reverse and brings it down to the apron. So Cole Daly was the reason for this, our second caution. Him and James Qualls getting together. Let's go back now and see what we're going to have to finish out today's race. Well, we're getting ready to go back to Green Flag Racing. There is a total of 20 laps to go. Is it 20? No. 10 laps to go, I'm sorry. When we go back green, I think. No, 12, it'll be 12 to go. Boy, I was trying to do math in my head and I was really failing. 12 laps to go when we get ready to go back to Green Flag Racing. And Chris Dollerton is your current leader, but you notice those drivers that were on pit road beforehand, just when that caution came out, they are going to be on the tail end of the lead lap, with the exception of Sean Henley, who has scored a lap down. But Cole Daly, Joshua Collard, James McLeod, and Dylan Poteet, they're on the tail end of the lead lap, but they're going to be having to start ahead of the leader, just ahead of the leader, as they end up getting caught behind the pace car coming off pit road. So it'll be Dollerton, Shelton, Galligan, McCrory, and Michaels. That's the way they came off pit road. Buchanan, Ryan Acosta, Chris Washer, William Duncan, and Danny Wells. That is the top 10 as we get ready to go back to Green Flag Racing. Green flag back out. Dollerton giving a little bit of space, it almost looked like, to those cars just ahead of him. Not a bad idea. That way he can get a good run on them, and that momentum can help him get to the inside. But while he's concentrating on those drivers, he's also got to look in his rearview mirror and notice that Shelton, McCurry, Galligan, they could end up getting by him if he makes a mistake with one or more of these drivers on the tail end of the lead lap. Goes to work on the damaged machine of Joshua Collard. He'll put him a lap down. Shelton following right in his tire tracks, and now they're double wide ahead of him between teammates Sean Henley and Dylan Poteet, creating a wall for Chris Dollerton. Dollerton going to try and go to the outside line, and here comes Shelton with a run on the inside line. Dollerton had to find somewhere to go, and Shelton sticks him to the high side. Now Shelton trying to go for the lead. Joshua Collard closing the gap up there on for Sean Galligan and Anthony McCurry to try and do something, and now Shelton has cleared Dollerton for the top position. Now she goes to work on these drivers, clears Poteet, clears McLeod, and now Dollerton is going to try and follow her in line. 3 wide there with Poteet, McLeod, and Dollerton, and now Dollerton clears them, and now Shelton goes to work underneath of Sean Henley. Ooh, Dollerton. Oh, I think he just let he's trying to, there we go, okay. I thought he let Poteet to his inside, and that would have really taken him out of the equation. He did clear him down the back straightaway, though, and now it's Jessica Shelton with Chris Dollerton on her back bumper, and the car of Cole Daly just ahead on the tail end of the lead lap. A couple of drivers just topped up into the top 10. Hendrick Daly teammates. Cody Lamas has jumped up to 9th, and our All-Star race winner, Jacob Lawler, is now up in 10th. But the battle is up front between Jessica Shelton and Chris Dollerton. Which of these drivers wants it more? Dollerton hasn't been to victory lane yet this season. Shelton has. One Chevy out of Retro Racing Enterprises, one Chevy out of Michael Norman Motorsports. Then you got the lap machine of Dylan Poteet in a battle for third between the Audi of Anthony McCurry and the Chevy of Sean Galligan. Those two have to deal with Poteet before they can get up here and even think about challenging for this victory. It looks like it's going to come down between the 25 and the 33 unless we have some kind of a late race caution. Right now, though, I don't think that's going to happen. Danny Wells charging up there into the 5th position. Just cleared Chris Washer for that spot. And now Shelton is on the back bumper of Cole Daly. Now, will she even try passing the 88? Or will she kind of use him as a drafting partner here? Daly appears to be up to speed. He only got a little bit of damage from hitting the inside wall, but Shelton's going to try and pass him anyway, try and put a lap machine between herself and Chris Dollerton. Dollerton's got to get going here through that corner. Left a little too much of a gap, and is he going to be able to get to the inside of Daly? It looks like he might. Yes, he will. So now they're going to both put Cole Daly in their rearview mirror, and now it's going to be mano-a-mano, Shelton versus Dollerton. At the stripe, 3 laps to go. Now the question is, can Dollerton reel in the 25? We saw before when Chris Dollerton was out in front, he was able to open a pretty sizable lead over second place. And the gap really never closed up until we ended up having our second caution. So now can Dollerton, who's been obviously one of the strongest cars today, led the most laps, can he reel in Shelton? Time is running out. This time by, it'll be 2 laps to go. Jessica Shelton ended up winning at Watkins Glen this season on fuel strategy. Today, It's not fuel strategy, it was the fact her pit crew put together a really good pit stop and got her out second. She then was able to use the drivers just ahead of the leader on the restart to get by for the top position. But right now, it's looking like she could be en route for her second win of the season. White flag displayed one more time around for the 25 car. Dollarton about 3/10, actually make that about 4/10 back, and the gap grew that lap. He did not close up any distance. Shelton actually pulled away through turns 3 and 4 for the final time. Jessica Shelton going to become the 4th two-time winner here in Season 10. May clinch herself a spot in the chase as well as Jessica Shelton takes the checkered flag here today at North Carolina Speedway. It's been about 10 races since Shelton last went to victory lane. And in this one, I guess you could say pit road, or at least her pit crew, came into play in her second victory of the season. Her pit crew getting her out in a very fast pit stop, picking her up a spot on pit road, and then she did the work of the driver, getting by Chris Dollarton on the restart. And you look back to her first win at Watkins Glen, that pit strategy they played out where she had enough fuel to get to the end in that Watkins Glen race. So pit road has definitely played a key factor into the 2 wins that Jessica Shelton has compiled here this season. And like I said, she now joins Trent Dunham, Dylan Poteet, and Dougie Shears as a 2-time winner here in Season 10. And that may have all but confirmed her a spot in the chase of the championship. The only thing she's got to concentrate on now is remaining inside the top 30 in points, which this will also help her in. She came in 26th in points. This will help her bridge that gap and make it a little larger between herself and that 30th spot in the standings. Chris Dollarton, though, great run for him. He got slowed up there by some of those drivers on the tail end of the lead lap, but he'll still get a solid run. This will move him up in the standings. And Anthony McCurry, a great run for him in the 3rd position. McCurry steadily working his way up through the points, but still looking for his first win. Chris Washer, solid run in 4th. How about Cody Lamas? Cody Lamas actually did a lot of passing there on that last restart. He started outside the top 10 on that last restart and worked his way to finish in 5th place. Great run for him. Danny Wells continues on his streak of good runs with a run of 6th here today. That's actually his 3rd straight top 10 finish. Finished 1st about 4 weeks ago at Darlington, finished 2nd last week at Thornton, and now 6th here today at Rockingham. Brandon Gonzalez, a solid run for him in 7th. John Cittadino in 8th. There's a couple of drivers we didn't talk about all day. Tim Walsh also didn't talk about the 15 in 9th place. So there you got 2 former winners from this season and a 2-time Snickers Cup Series champ in 8th. And then Sean Galligan, who started on the outside of the front row, he was able to get a solid run of 10th place. So as he tries to continue his quest to get back into the top 35 in points, solid top 10 run for him. Well-needed run for that driver out of Tweenix Racing. So, after this race, the big question is who would be the points leader. Let's see where Trent Dunham finished this race after his early hardships. He still finished on the lead lap in the 31st position. Joshua Michaels ended up finishing in 30th, only 1 spot ahead of Trent. Dylan Poteet, I think, finished off the lead lap in 34th. Dougie Shears ended up finishing 32nd. And Joshua Collard was 37th. I'm pretty certain. Let's see where Lawler finished. Lawler was 11th. Lawler came into this race 42 points back from Trent Dunham. Didn't lead any laps today. So Jacob Lawler will not take the points lead away from Trent Dunham, nor will anybody else. Trent will still hang on to it, but Jacob Lawler is definitely going to move up through the points here into the top 5 in standings. Where he'll be situated, I don't know. John Cittadino may also be moving up into the top 5 in points as well, but I believe Trent Dunham will still hang on to the points lead despite the early hardship he suffered here in today's race. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching today's race from Rockingham, North Carolina. Remember, they'll be coming back to this racetrack for the regular season finale when the 16 chase spots will be announced and compiled. So these drivers definitely going to be putting a lot of what they learned into their mindset for when we get to that race. They're planning on repaving this track, though, so that could throw a curveball for these drivers when they return as well later on this season. Thank you all so much for watching today's race at Rockingham, North Carolina. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to give us a video like, subscribe, and become part of the crew today. We'll now show you your full finisher results from today's event, as well as your rookie points and your overall points heading into next week as the chase for the chase continues here on the NNSCRA Sports Channel, offline racing at its best. Hey, thanks for watching another video here on the NNSCRA Sports and Gaming channel. If you enjoyed the content you just saw, be sure to give this video a like. If you want to join the crew today, be sure to hit up that subscribe button. And if you want to know what's going on in the world of NNSCRA for news and updates, check out the Facebook and Twitter links down below me. Once again, thanks for watching everybody, and I will see you guys next time. I'm out.